Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to go ahead and spend today giving you guys updates on all of my fish. So the first thing on today's agenda is to move my 3 thread fin cars that's in the biker tank back into the aquarium inside the house, and then take 2 of those datnoids and move them in the biker tank. And again, the reason why we move the datnoids into the tank inside the house is to have them pellet trained with the anabis and the other geos and stuff. Now that they're pellet trained, I can go ahead and move them back in the biker tank. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Oh yeah, before we start, just in case you were wondering, there is one of the snails that we put in here. I didn't know if they were going to survive or not, but as you can see, he's right here putting in work, and all of these bikers can really care less about this guy right here. I saw the other one last night. He always hangs out in the corner back there. It's kind of dark right now, but later on, if we see him, I'll go ahead and record him and show you guys. So when it comes to getting fish out of this tank without getting my hands wet and stuff, I would get a PVC pipe like this and a net. I would squeeze the ends and then I would just shove it in this part right here, and then it pretty much extends the net so I don't have to kind of reach into the aquarium, and I can get fish from both sides of the tank through just one little opening like this. Alright, so that's it. That's the 3 cars. I'm gonna go in there and get the 2 datnoids. And the reason why I leave the camera on like this is because when I have this tank open, I want to record just in case these bikers jump out. I want to have it on camera. Datnoid. Alright, now that the datnoids are back into this tank right here, they'll have way more than enough room to grow. And then when they get too big for this tank, that's when we'll figure out what we're going to do with them. One of the main reasons why I wanted my 2 datnoids to be out here is because since the bikers are always occupying the bottom of the tank, the 2 datnoids will have the rest of the tank for them to roam around and grow and stuff. So they'll do fine in this tank. While the 3rd datnoid is going to be inside the house growing with the geos. It'll just work out a lot better. And I didn't move my anabis back into this tank because it's doing fine there, so why not just keep them there? Honestly, I was going to keep the acaras in this tank right here, but the acaras do really well with the 2 geos inside, so I'd rather just keep them in a group. They're all about the same size. They're pretty much the same fish, and they school together, so if they like it, then I'd rather just keep them like that. So now that we've exchanged the fish, I'm gonna go ahead and do a slight water change for this tank. I usually do about an 80% or 70% water change on this guy, but I'm only gonna do about a 50 today just because I added the new fish, and I'm sure they're a little stressed, so I don't want to stress them out too much, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a slight one today. Alright, so the first thing that I do when I do my water changes is always check up on this DIY filter. Grab a cup, because there's always a whole bunch of filth. Need some tongs. Pull them out. There it is. That was white filter floss. That's so dirty. Look at that. It's like chocolate milk. And that's about a week's worth of grime and detritus. It's kind of gross. When I first made this filter, I thought that the little clumps of filter floss would eventually come out and get stuck in my filters. But what I've noticed is throughout this whole time of me having it, the filter floss just kind of stays in a little ball like this. This is about 2 pieces of filter floss. And since there's constant pressure coming from the top of the filter to the bottom, it prevents things from floating out of it. It's just like continuously sucking into the bottom of the filter. So I've noticed that none of the filter floss actually broke apart and got in the tank, but I left that little crate filter thing on the bulkhead just to be safe. So I went ahead and washed the filter floss. I usually just rinse it off with the garden hose and it brings it back to normal. The reason why I don't replace it is because if I can just wash it, it takes about like 5 seconds. Might as well just do that. And then when it starts breaking up and stuff, that's when I replace it, because right there I have a huge bag of it, and it's just kind of chilling. So one thing that I've been dealing with recently is detritus building up in my Monte Carlo project, which is right here. And if you don't know what this is, it's essentially an overhead type of refugium thing. And I have a whole bunch of Monte Carlo plants that's pretty much carpeting the whole bottom of the container. And the way water gets in is through an airlift tube that comes straight from my biker tank. The bad part about that is it also carries a whole bunch of detritus, and my shrimps can't really catch up with cleaning it up. So I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's a whole bunch of detritus in there that's kind of built up. Maybe you guys can see it from the top view. But I'm gonna show you guys how I flush this out. So what I do is I go ahead and get my siphon, which is one of those press squeegee things. Water is connected into the biker tank as usual. And then I just kind of pump water into this container, and it just blows all the stuff out. And it flows out through its own bulkhead back into the tank. So it's kind of like this. And since the whole bottom is Monte Carlo, I don't really have to worry about it messing up the substrate, because the plants is the substrate. So. Oh, you also might notice that my half beak's in here as well. I'm trying something out with them. It's a pretty small fish, and the amount of water that gets blown through this little container is, I mean, it's way more than enough, right? I'm trying to have him in here because I have a whole bunch of bug problems. There's always bugs that get in this tank, and the half beak's pretty much doing its job by eating all the bugs that get into this little system. Alright, man, when I'm talking about bugs, I'm talking about bugs. Look at this. Dude, a whole nest of spiders just came out of the light, bro. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, this is insane. I'm talking about, that is baby spiders, my boy. That is gross. Like, I'm not even kidding about these bugs, man, because this is nuts. This is extremely nasty, bro. Like if you, any of you guys thought that I was kidding about these bugs, Alright, so I went ahead and went to go eat. Now I'm back. Let's go ahead and give you guys an update on the goldfish. So here are the goldfish. My Oranda, which is doing very good, and my fantail is doing excellent as well. If you look at my Oranda's head, you can see that it's not that uniform. The left portion of its head kind of looks like it has a chunk missing. Well, that's because there was a chunk kind of hanging off the side of his head, and I had to do some emergency surgery on this guy. Can't really tell now because I went ahead and did that surgery, but a piece of his head was kind of hanging off. And what I mean by head is wen. So its wen was hanging off, and it was just kind of dangling around while it was swimming. As you can see, it kind of waddles around, and as it waddles, that piece is just kind of hanging. So in order for me to kind of get that out of its way, I had to kind of do some post surgery on him by taking him out of the water, get some clean scissors, and pretty much giving him a haircut. As you can see, let me get him on this side real quick. So as you can see, the roundness on the left side of his head is not there, but eventually I think his wen will grow back evenly. I pretty much had to pick him up real quick, cut that piece of wen off, which I'll put up right here. As you guys can see, it's literally just blubber. And I asked my buddies, the fish feels no pain when it comes to kind of doing cosmetic surgery on the wen portion of the head, so it was no problems when I cut that off. I was holding the Oranda in my hand, so if the fish were to feel pain, it would have been struggling and whatnot, but nope, I just went ahead and cut it, put it back, and then it was back to normal. No infections or anything, and it's acting perfectly fine. One thing I wish I did was kind of cut his head a little bit even, I just wanted to kind of get that hanging piece off and put it back in the water as soon as possible. I didn't want to keep him out of it and didn't want to stress him out too much. But yeah, hopefully the one will just grow back on its own and round out just like on this side right here. I was too worried about my fish and I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, so I went ahead and I was actually on the phone with my buddy and he was kind of guiding me through it, and pretty much didn't really have the resources to record it, but I just wanted to report to you guys that this guy's doing a-okay. So the reason why I think his head or its wen got damaged is because I found this at the bottom of the tank. This is a piece of slate that I added into the tank for some reason, and yeah, I found it at the bottom of the tank when I was doing a water change all the way down there. So I'm currently getting ready for the swap. I'm going to be putting them in a 40B that's going to be around this area right here on the rack. And in that aquarium, I'm going to be adding one more goldfish with these guys. So I'll have 3 goldfish in a 40-gallon breeder. But that's actually it for goldfish updates. I was actually going to turn this video into 5 reasons why I keep goldfish and fancy goldfish. If you guys want to see that video, just let me know. I'll go ahead and make it. So nothing really new with the refugium down here. Some of the shrimps that I rescued are in this little container. And also put some pond snails in here, just because if they ever come out of this container, they're just going to be trapped in that net anyways. And in this thing right here, I have a whole bunch of snails for breaking down organic matter. I don't know if you can see, but they're all right there. Yeah, I just have them in here and they just break down and clean stuff and pretty much keep the bottom of this little net spotless. In here, I'm growing mainly some washer tang, and also in here as well. Have a little bit of Java fern babies, but when they get bigger, I move them into the tank inside. A little bit of water lettuce. I'm trying to grow some here. But yeah, that's it for the refugium. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with the refugium after I move them into the bigger tank. I was thinking about adding a divider and then just having the refugium on the left side and the K1 on the right side. But ever since I got that new canister filter inside, I was thinking about adding an FX4 to this tank right here so I can free up the bottom aquarium for more fish. The only problem is getting rid of all my K1 is going to be heartbreaking because, I mean, K1 is my favorite filter media of all time. But if it's to add more fish, then it's something that I'm down to part with. But yeah, speaking of the inside tank, let's go ahead and give you guys an update of them right now. There is 5 cichlids in here, 2 of them being geophagus and 3 of them being the threadfin acaras. My anabis is in here. There's my biggest datnoid, which is in here as well, is the IT datnoid. The reason why this is a good combo is because I eventually want that datnoid to take over that tank and have that tank purely set up for that one datnoid. And then the geos and the acaras, I'll figure out something to do with them. They're really good dither fishes though, so keeping them around is really good. So adding in this FX4 is really good compared to the sun that I had. Haven't thrown this away yet. I still gotta figure out what I want to do with it. Maybe when I set up my pond outside. But the FX4 has been working perfectly fine. It's only been about a week, so I haven't seen too much improvement when it comes to my sun. Only time will tell. But as for right now, it's a really good filter. I like how it's built. It's very quiet. Actually, the best part is it is extremely quiet. It sounds like the filter is off, to be honest. Look at the datnoids, man. They're just chilling. Look at that guy. Just chilling. They're really dark right now, but when they get comfortable, like the last time I introduced this guy in the tank, the colors really popped and really came out. But as for right now, this guy's not too comfortable, so I think we're just gonna have to wait until they kind of settle in. And at first, I was really worried about this little datnoid, but as you can see, my bikers can really care less. But yeah, time will tell, and I'll be sure to give you guys updates on these guys. And hopefully this works out well, because it'll be a pretty nice aquarium to have 2 datnoids and the bottom filled with bikers. Having 5 bikers in here is perfect for me, and the 2 datnoids in here as well. They're gonna be pretty big. It might look like it's an empty tank, but there's a whole lot of bioload in there. So that ends up leaving us with one more tank, which is the planet tank. The planet tank has grown a lot. It's grown so much that I don't really do much with it. I don't really do much with that tank because my bioload in that aquarium is only 5 or 6 ember tetras, and I do have a lot of shrimp in there, but the shrimp bioload isn't too crazy. On top of that, the next thing I have is snails, and then everything else is just plants. I top it off. I give it water changes every 2 weeks, not every 1 week like these guys. And the plants are doing really good. The subwasher tank at the bottom is pretty much being lush. They become bushes and shrubs, and it's starting to look really good. I don't want to add too many other plants, because if I add taller plants, it's going to suffocate the ones at the bottom. So the only thing I could add is more fish, but I don't know what to add yet. I'm gonna wait until I go into the fish store to actually choose, and hopefully they'll have a good selection when I go in there. I'm getting distracted by my dinoids right now, but I found my snail that I was looking for earlier. Check this out. That was the one that we were looking for earlier in the video. Again, like I said, I'm really happy that these snails are doing good in this tank, because obviously, as you can tell by the size of that lap's head compared to that snail, you can crush it if you really wanted to. Honestly, I say this at the end of every one of my videos, and I definitely want to say it again. Thank you guys for watching all of my videos. We're almost at 700 subscribers, which is crazy. I think we're like 4 or 5 away from being 700, but yeah, that's just nuts. It just gives me more motivation to post more videos and more motivation to make content for you guys to watch. So again, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next one, and peace, guys.